what do you think about the idea of kind of how you're saying, like Charlie's looking at it like, what these goalies are shit, like, or it's almost like the Wayne Gretzky question, like Wayne Gretzky's actually wasn't that good, like if you compare him right to. So my argument is always, it's freaking relative, man. Like for the time, like if you take the Wayne Gretzky mindset and put him in today's game, he would have trained the same as everyone else. He would have done the same things as everyone else, and then he would still have had that elite, genetic, gifted, whatever you want to call it, thing that just made him outstanding. So I always fall on the side of the argument of like, they would have been dominant. It doesn't matter who you
There's
put in whatever
no
era.
question.
They were at the peak of their era. If they were here, they would have possibly or likely done the same things to be at the peak of their era now.
Question for you then. Okay, so I'm not doing this for a compliment. I'm not doing this for a compliment. Just use me for an example. Up until like I'm not good anymore. I'm gonna qualify that. I'm not a good. No, I can still skate. It looks fine. I could shoot fine. I could stick handle very well, but I'm not good anymore. But remove me 10 years. 10 years ago, skating with the junior and pros.
Dude, I vividly remember, like not that long ago, it would have been like, guys, I remember like pro guys saying like, dude, you should go play.
Yes, I know.
And
I
like
know.
being serious.
I know, or run a power play in the
Yeah.
East Coast League or something like that.
Yeah.
That's my point. That's the point. I wasn't the best player 85 to 90. And I was hanging with guys that are making a lot of money. Right? So if I'm not the greatest player in the world, 85 to 90 would be fine today. Especially take someone like Mario Lemieux. Like there wasn't like a physical he was fast, he was tall, he was big, he was strong, he was skilled, more skilled than anybody that ever lived, right? So that guy will step into any era, no problem. Gretzky was so smart. So yeah, the training. So okay, maybe the argument is he doesn't get 92 goals a year. That could be very possible, but he might find a different way to make things because he was just like so far ahead of the game thinking. Just see things a whole different way. Bobby Orr, you can't tell me that guy wouldn't have been able to skate today. Guaranteed. He was a beautiful skater. He used to do it. So yeah, so that argument's funny. I think if you take every era has their thing, and everything changes, equipment changes, rules change, all these kind of different things, and you know, there's I think your best players for sure are interchangeable, 1,000%.
Yeah, it is an interesting conversation. Because I forget who we were just having this conversation a little while ago. Some of the guys that were saying like that, I forget who it was. I think it was guys on our team like talking about some of them were saying that they don't think Gretzky would be good, or the reverse, like they still think he'd be awesome, and just that debate back and forth. It's interesting to have the conversation.
You would have to be, actually, in order to say something like that, you actually haven't got a clue. I'm not being a jackass. That just actually tells me that you have no idea what a good hockey player is.
Man, I remember. Just sorry, keep going.
Good. It's good.
I remember it's like several episodes ago. Again, I remember it came up. We were talking about Milan Lucic, and everyone was saying like the guy can't skate. He's terrible. Like whatever. I'm like, man, you remember when he played junior? Like the guy was a machine in junior. He was like one of the top end guys through his junior leagues. He comes up to the NHL, and he had several seasons where he was like a key contributor to Stanley Cup contending teams. And then I think he did win with Boston too, right?
Yeah.
And he was playing a different style, but a key role. And then guys are talking about how he's terrible and like he can't skate and all this stuff. I'm like, you guys don't know what you're talking about, man. This guy would go to any junior team and be by far the best. Any junior team, anyone, OHL, anywhere in the CHL, NCAA, doesn't matter. And to be one of the best guys on the ice, it wouldn't even be a question. You know, it's like and like the fact that people even have that conversation just shocks me. It's just like the how naive you'd have to be to think a fourth line guy in the NHL, and he wasn't always fourth line, but let's say he was towards the end. It's like to think a fourth line guy in the NHL isn't going to be a dominant force in any group. It's like you're out of your mind, man.
Take a guy like Darren McCarty, right? So he was, for the most part of his career, a fourth line NHL player, like the grind line, right? In Detroit, and might have had some third line. He was a really good hockey player, by the way. And people were like, yeah, he's a fourth liner. It's like, yeah, he had 50 goals in junior. And I think real close to it is another year. Like a dominant player with so much skill and stuff. It just happens like Actually, this actually kind of fits into what my talk is a little bit. You fit into roles in order to play. So but honestly, dude, I think about this a lot because skating is, there's no question. I mean, to sit here and say if you can't skate or if that skating doesn't matter, then well, that's just stupidity. It matters. It matters a lot, especially on in certain ways that certain players have to play. So if you're a good skater, it's better than not being a good skater. But use for example, older guys in the NHL right now. Tavares. I wouldn't say he's old, but he's older. Give me someone else that's older.
Right now?
Yeah.
In the NHL?
I'm just, off the
Like
top.
Matt Martin?
Matt Martin, right? He plays for the Islanders. Even use Zdeno Chara when he played. He was like 40 years old, right? Those guys aren't skating at their prime. They're not skating at their prime. So and John Tavares' knock on him was his skating. So if he can't skate that well and he's older and he can't skate as well as he used to, how could he be a pro? How could he still be a dominant pro? Because the brain, the 6 inches between their ears, the puck finds them. They know positions. They outsmart the game, and they don't have to be quite as fast. Like, no, don't get me wrong. If they're F1 on the forecheck, they're probably a split second, a little bit behind, but they maybe make up for angles and stuff. With angles and different things like that, the smarts of the game make a difference. But it's not always, going back to your Lucic comment, it's not always about being the best skater. Because a lot of guys that can skate well are dumb. They don't, or they can't put things together. You have to have a certain smarts to you to be effective. Now, the best players typically seem like they can skate better, like a Crosby and a McDavid and McKinnon and Makar. They're awesome, but there's so many guys that you would say they're not that great of skaters. They're good. Like, take my kid for example. He's a good skater. He's not the best skater, but he's got a different way that he has to play, and could always be a knock on him, maybe, whatever. But got to figure it out. He does.
Well, my thing is, like, how do you define good? Like, so this is while you were talking, what popped into my head was a guy like Chris Draper. So, and the reason that pops into my head is because you would tell the story about how he turned into a shutdown guy when that wasn't what he was, right? Like, he was a top end player coming up, offensive guy, whatever. So if your only measurement for good is like, does he get points? It's like, that's only one thing to look at. So if you're one of the best fourth line like another one that popped into my head was Cal Clutterbuck, right? By what metric?
I can't tell you if he's a great skater or not. I haven't watched enough.
But take the skating out of it, just like based on what the job is that he does. It's like what I say, Cal Clutterbuck is really good at hockey. It's like, I would say yes to anyone that plays in the NHL, but like, it's too general of a question. It's like, he's really good at doing the job that he's supposed to do for the hockey team he plays for, right? So it would be like any other job. It's like if I work at a plant and I'll use my example when I worked at PowerTech, we made gas tanks for cars. So the engineer that designs the part of the line, that's his job. Then he hands it off to the tech guy. That's his job. Then the tech guy has to call the repair guy if something goes wrong so he can fix it. So is the tech guy good at making gas tanks? It's like, I don't know. It's like, he's good at the thing he's supposed to do, right? So it's like, are you good at hockey? It's like, that's a general statement. So if you just judge it based on one thing, then you're not really recognizing all the other pieces that actually matter. Does that kind of make sense what I'm saying?